Good morning. We will go ahead and call to order the April 24th, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento County Regional Sanitation District, the Sacramento Area Sewer District, the Sacramento County Sanitation District Financing Authority, and start with a roll call, please.
Good morning. Ms. Bruins? Mr. Carr?
Here.
Ms. Frost?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Howell? Kennedy?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
McGarvey?
Here.
Nottoli?
Here.
Orozco? Peters? Serna?
Here.
Hansen? Villegas? Warren? And Hume.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. Please join the birthday boy, Director Serna, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Now, if the clerk would please read the Metro Cable statement.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation and Sacramento Area Sewer Districts is being broadcast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned for our hearing impaired viewers and webcast at sacmentocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, April 28th at 6 p.m. and Monday, April 29th at 8 p.m. on Channel 14. In accordance with the Government Code 54952.3, compensation for meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County supervisors and the City of Sacramento council members is paid to the county and city respectively to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the back of chambers and hand it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please silence your electronic devices at this time.
Great, thank you. And we will move on to section number 1.
Sacramento County Sanitation District, Financing Authority, and Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, separate matters, budget workshop for the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and the Sacramento County Sanitation District's Financing Authority for fiscal year 2019-20.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Joe Mastrady. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the districts, and we have the budget workshop presentation for you this morning. The Office of Finance has taken over the budget management process from the Internal Service Department this year, but most everything is pretty much the same. A lot of the same players involved. Becky Schaefer is still our budget process manager for both the departments. So the only notable change you might have noticed is in the schedules in the budget documents for each of the funds. We're beginning and ending with a cash balance, which is easier to trace to our audited financial statements than the former working capital base. Wrong direction. This is the overview of the budget for the regional SAN for the fiscal year 1920. We're projecting no rate increase will be needed for this budget year or probably the next several. The overall budget is $146.6 million net of the depreciation. This is a roughly 6% increase over the prior year. We have total full-time staffing positions of 475, which is the same as the level that we've had for the last 5 years. This graph shows the trend for our budget over the last several years, and this pretty much follows the trend that we've anticipated in our 10-year financial forecast. So it's going pretty much as scheduled. We're looking at an increase of roughly $4 million for the salary and benefit category. This is driven mainly by our labor agreements, which call for a 3% COLA for most of our bargaining groups. And it also includes an increase in the retirement benefit rate that we get from the county retirement system. On the services and supplies side, we're looking at an increase, net increase of about $4.6 million. The biggest portion of this is chemicals and electricity costs. And this is kind of the trend that we've been in the last couple of years with the increased costs related to Echo Water Project operating costs starting to ramp up now. We're also experiencing unit cost increases on the chemicals that are driving a lot of this as well. This is offset a little bit by lower engineering consulting contract costs. On the capital side, the total capital budget is $375 million, excluding the depreciation. As you might expect, most of that is the Echo Water Project. Also, the debt service for the districts is pretty significant and includes rising loan payments for the SRF loans as the projects get completed. And some of the notable capital projects include obviously the Echo Water Project. This year it's budgeted about $217 million. It's a little bit down from the peak last year. It was budgeted a little bit over $300 million. Also, the Emergency Storage Basin D Rehabilitation Project is approximately $12 million budgeted for next year. The Arden Pump Station Wet Well Rehabilitation Project is about $5 million. And then we had the South County Ag Project, the planning and design costs starting to ramp up there. Roughly $4 million budgeted for the next fiscal year. And as you recall, these project costs will be reimbursed from the state grant for the South County Ag Project. We're happy to entertain any questions. We have staff here that can answer any detailed questions you might have.
Thank you, Joe. Director Nottoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Joe, and maybe this is for you and others. I noticed in the budget we have the reserve for the Confluence program as directed by the board, and obviously they're under different categories. I'm sure they'll be charted out for the various categories this board gave direction around. I guess the point I wanted to make, though, is we have the reserve there, obviously for a good reason. And I want to certainly commend both the regional staff as well as our sewer district staff for their work with some of our Delta communities. We're going to kick off, in fact, early next month or mid next month to actually abandon septic tanks and bring sewer to the town of Freeport, both the residences as well as some of the businesses there. And we've been working, as you have been elsewhere in the county, certainly in Florin area, out in the Rio Linda area as well, with other representatives down in South Sacramento, but with the communities of Hood and Franklin. And when I see that we have a reserve there, I think we have this window of opportunity, and I don't want to get out ahead of Prabhakar and Christoph relative to the proposed projects, but I think it's important because of the distances, in order to connect the sewer, we have a lot of deadhead line potentially, at least running from Hood to get it where we can get it to a connection that will then bring it back to the plant for treatment. But we have interested communities, we've had community meetings, and I guess I want to just kind of put a finer point to that budget item, and I trust that you'll be back to us because there may be some funding gap there, but with potential for state bond monies, and the fact that the clock is running on sewer credits that the county still holds, that I'm hopeful that in the budget context, but certainly in the context of those projects, Prabhakar, that we can maybe have some discussion. And I don't know if we need to frame it in the budget, so that we don't get into amendments throughout the year. And again, I don't want to get too far ahead of you, but I wanted to point that out because we have a critical opportunity, and we've been able to connect one of several communities, and two we already have. Obviously, these Cortland and Walnut Grove are connected, but those communities sit right on the river. They're rural. They're all septic tanks, in some cases private wells. we have a real opportunity to match some of the state monies, assuming we can be successful, and I think you've been successful thus far. So I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Definitely.
I put it in
I
budget
just wanted
context.
to let you know. So the Confluence program, when it was approved, there was essentially an authorization to spend anywhere from $600,000 and up on an annual basis to help these communities, especially pairing up with the state grants that we have. Most of the communities we're looking at, I think we could do that generally in that, spending authorization levels. But there's certainly a couple of communities that are going to be outside those needs. The town of Franklin and the town of Hood, because they're geographically far. We're working with the state, and we will know in the next couple of months exactly what the shortfall is. And then we'll come back to the board here to see if there's a desire to increase the level of contributions to essentially take advantage of this one-time opportunity that may or may not come about. But that's this board's decision. So it would be a separate item that we would bring later this summer. We've been waiting for the state board to meet with us, and they really are swamped with things, and they finally agreed to meet with us in June.
Okay.
Our hope is to bring the item back. So that $10 million in reserve, we may not necessarily to tap that because we are getting a lot more than what we are currently incurring as a cost because of the interest rates have gone up and our reserves have gone up. I think we're in the $10 million range. So there should be some additional cushion there without touching the reserves. Sure. Okay. But that's something I think we will bring a better picture to you sometime this summer. Okay. That's why we have not included, because it's a little bit premature to add anything here related to that effort.
Okay.
Well, but I do wanted to update you.
Yeah, and thank you for the. I guys wanted to frame it in a budget context. There will be a budget item, and again, it will require obviously.
We will bring that
okay.
Later this summer once we have a clarity from the state.
Again, but thank you for your good work, and we've made progress. We have very.
Matter of fact, later you're approving that Freeport award today, so that we can start constructing that sewer conversion. Essentially, we got 100% grant from the state on that effort.
Been 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
We got there.
Better late than never.
All right, thanks.
Director Serna.
Thank you. Wanted to have a little more detail on one of the slides where it's noted the chemical supplies and electricity costs are increasing. The reason I would like a little more input from staff, and whether that's Prabhakar or
Certainly,
others.
yeah. So what happened was when we, as part of the Eco Water project, we converted away from chlorine gas to
Right.
chlorine liquid.
Right.
Chlorine gas, if you remember, that it's not a very friendly chemical to deal with, and it has a lot of off-site and on-site consequences. We converted to chlorine liquid, and the quantities that we use are enormous. There aren't very many suppliers that can supply in the quantities. There's really only 2 that can supply the quantities. Ever since the conversion, the prices have gone up substantially. There's a market that determines the price, and we have struck some long-term contracts, but there are provisions for escalations. Now, the amount of chemical that we're using, not just the liquid chlorine, but there's other processes that are coming on board. For example, the NSD, those of you that are going to be taking the tour, you will see that there's additional eco water processes that are coming on board. So we're adding chemicals in those processes as well. Ultimately, these costs are rising. I mean, if you think about it, we're about $18 million in the annual budget. It used to be around 6 or 7. So it's almost tripled over the last 4 years. Once we have a better handle in terms of the needs, we're going to look at either alternatives, such as on-site generation. Again, would that reduce the cost? This is something that we're going to, is kind of necessary for us to do to maintain the process. And in terms of also, the other things we're looking at is potentially if we bring the chemical on rail cars as opposed to the trucks. Today, we have like 5 or 6 trucks, if not more, a week that come in to supply the chemicals that we need, and would bringing the trucks be more cheaper, or the rail cars more cheaper. Those are all the things we're going to explore, and looking at the infrastructure that's needed to handle those kinds of things.
On the electricity side, I was under the impression that we were investing on-site generation, solar in particular, and that was in part or perhaps entirely expected to help us mitigate our own electricity costs. So I'm trying to.
You're absolutely right. Actually, but for that, it would have been even higher. If you noticed, read in the paper, SMUD, I think, is proposing to increase 4.75%, much higher than they have raised over the many years. So again, those of you that are going to be taking the tour will drive by the 5 megawatt solar farm that with the 21 acres that we just built, it came online, that really pegged our rates at a very competitive level. Because we're bringing the new processes, we were at one point projecting our electricity budgets to double. Because of the Eco Water project. It's still, there's substantial increases left to be brought on board, but those are offset by the solar power, the agreements that we made with SMUD.
So it sounds like the short answer to both is the fact that while we have decommissioned from gas to liquid, and we are expanding our ability to generate our own power, it's the order of magnitude of the expansion of the plant that kind of supersedes all of that, and it really is playing more defense than offense in terms of
Absolutely.
keeping those costs in check.
Yeah, there's still things that we will look into as we go over the next 5+ years. Right now, we have a contract with SMUD to provide our gas for the on-site power generation.
Sure.
We're going to be looking at, as that contract comes up, should we generate our own power to make it more economical for us? I mean, all those things are going to be looked at to better manage these things.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Hume. Prabhakar, just following up on Director Serna's comments, while I realize that using liquid chlorine is more cumbersome because of the volume and more costly, the benefits to the community in terms of aggregate safety are immense. And I think it was a turn that we needed to take, and you get what you pay for. But the safety benefits here are just almost immeasurable.
I totally agree, and we happen to be one of the last ones to get off the gas. We have benefited the low cost of that chemical for a very long time, but the time has come for it to go. And you're right, we're kind of, the amount of chemical we use and the limitations of the suppliers is just something that we have to pay attention to.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else questions on this item? And this was just a workshop, no action
Yes,
required?
so if there are no changes, we'll bring back on May 22nd for the final approval.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, now moving over to Sacramento County Sanitation District's Financing Authority and Sacramento Area Sewer District. Item number 2.
Budget workshop for the Sacramento Area Sewer District and Sacramento County Sanitation District's Financing Authority for fiscal year 2019-20.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Randy Wolf, and I'm the accounting manager with Sacramento Area Sewer District. Thank you for putting the presentation up, Elma. This morning it's my pleasure to be able to present to you this year's 2019-20 Sacramento Area Sewer District budget. Before we start, I'd like to give special recognition to Becky Schaefer, Anna Nicolau, and Cynthia Benson for all their hard work in putting together this year's budget, compiling all this. In January of this year, we presented the long-term financial plan for the Sacramento Area Sewer District. That plan showed, because of your board's leadership and your support, Sacramento Area Sewer District is in a great place financially. And this budget just reemphasizes that. There have been no rate increases for 9 years, and we're looking at not having another rate increase for another several years. The 2019-20 budget is approximately $86 million. It's actually a decrease of $237,000 from this current year. The total staffing is at 301 positions. No new positions are being added. This graph shows a 5-year operating budget trend for SASD. As you see, it's been pretty flat. Salaries and benefits for SASD have increased roughly $1.9 million. The COLA's cost of living, about 3%. Retirement and group insurance and all benefit-related costs are approximately $750,000. Salaries are increased by about $1.1 million for that $1.9 million total for the salaries and benefits. Services and supplies reflect a net decrease of approximately $2.2 million. A decrease in plumbing maintenance services of about $1.3 million, and a decrease in construction services and supplies about $1.2 million. Taking a look at the SASD capital budget, you see that the capital budget is roughly $30 million, and the debt service remains unchanged at $11 million. Here are some of the notable capital projects. The lower lateral replacement projects, those are about $7.2 million. Pump stations, force main rehabilitation projects, roughly $7.7 million. Freeport septic conversion project, $2.5 million. And septic conversion focus areas, about $800,000. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and we open up to any questions that you have now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Mr. Wolf? Okay, seeing none. Again, just direction, so I anticipate
We'll come
see
back
the
again
final
on May
product.
22nd for
Very
the
good.
final approval.
All right, moving on to the Sacramento County Regional Sanitation District consent matters. I do have speakers on item number 6. What's the will of the board? Would you like to pull that item and move the rest of consent, or hear the speakers and act?
I'll move the remaining items.
Okay, so items 3 through 5.
Second?
There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And now if the clerk would please read item number 6.
Item number 6, award contract for the Gas Management System Rehabilitation and Improvements Project, Environmental Categorical Exemption, RFB 8295.
I'll take a minute or two to introduce, and then council will have a couple of comments that we can, if we could bring the speaker up. Would that work?
Okay.
So this is a project that we are attempting to rehabilitate our digesters. These are the structures that manage our gas that's generated in the digestion process. There's an enforcement order associated with this work that we have to complete. We've been working pretty diligently to complete this work. When we bid this, there were 4 bids. The lowest bidder, in this instance, ICS, listed a supplier in the subcontractor space, which the state requires that you need to list the subcontractors, the DIR numbers, and the licenses and whatnot. Erroneously, the ICS listed the supplier, not a subcontractor, the same supplier that is required to be used by all bidders, not unique to this particular bidder. So the second bidder protested because the listing of the supplier but no contractor license. Our council has opined that is an error that could be dispensed with by the board, so I'm going to let the council weigh in, and then we can hear from the protesters.
Thanks, Prabhakar. So yes, as Prabhakar said, the low bidder is responsive. There's case law in California that says if you erroneously list someone in the subcontractor form that's not a subcontractor, in this case a supplier, that is an immaterial error that can be waived. So it's pretty clear from the case law, recent case law within the last couple of years, that in this case that error can be waived, and the board can award to the low bidder, which is ICS. And I believe that both ICS and TNT are here to answer any questions that the board has, and I'd be happy to answer any as well.
Okay, Director Serna.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation from council. Follow up on the explanation, though. So my understanding is that the error is that the bidder posted in the space intended for a contractor, the supplier. Does that mean that there was no contractor listed elsewhere?
In this case, there wasn't, a contractor is not required because the low bidder has indicated that this supplier will just be supplying the goods, and it's electrical subcontractor, and I think it said it's going to be self-performing some of the work to install the actual, let me just look at my notes. Yes, so they will be performing the mechanical, and the electrical subcontractor will be performing the electrical, so there is no subcontract work as defined by the state law.
So the totality of the bid application was can be deemed complete?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Harris.
Actually, Director Serna's comments got at what I was going to ask, that the appropriate subcontractors were actually listed.
Correct.
And there was just superfluous information in that a supplier was listed.
Right.
In the subcontractor space.
Exactly.
Which seems like a minor irregularity in terms of bid contract law, and as,
Right,
as if I understood you, it is waivable.
Right, because it has no material effect on the bid because it was not required to be listed in the first place. It's not a material error and can be
And
waived.
did not give that bidder a competitive advantage in any way, correct? All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we hear from members of the public? All right, I have two representatives from the folks representing the protest side from TNT, and one representative from the lowest bidder, ICS. So we'll hear from the protesters first, and then allow the ICS gentleman to, representative to retort. First up is Donald Harmada, and if you guys would like to go in any particular order, Mr. Twist or Mr. Harmada.
I also have the proposal from the manufacturer I'd like to hand out to the board if possible, just so you
Give it to the clerk there. You can go ahead and begin if you'd like.
Good morning. My name is Josh Twist with TNT Industrial Contractors. TNT is a local, small, minority-owned business. We've been around for 28 years, and of those 28 years, we have worked at the Sacramento Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant each of those years. We're currently performing the digester rehabilitation project out at the plant. So we've kind of experienced with this type of work and in this area. I'm here to speak about, obviously, the protest submitted by TNT for RFP 8295. I have a major concern with the response to the protest and the integrity of the public bidding system and this being jeopardized. As has been discussed, the apparent low bidder, ICS, has in fact listed a contractor that does not have a subcontract license or a contractor's license for the state of California, as well as a DIR number, and both of these are required for award. Specifically, in the notice to contractors, it states no contractor or subcontractor may be listed on a bid for a public works project unless registered with the Department of Industrial Relations, and no contractor or subcontractor may be awarded a contract for public work on a public works project unless registered with the Department of Industrial Relations. I've provided John Zink's quote. They are, in fact, the manufacturer, and according to their proposal, they are an installer as well. If you go to page 4, I've highlighted as part of their proposal where they are specifically installing equipment, modifying existing equipment, and installing valves and couplings. This type of work requires a contractor's license. It's pretty clear. If you go further down, it also states their field installation scope. Again, to be an installation contractor in the state of California, you need a license. On public works, you need a DIR number. So again, it's pretty clear. You go to the next page, they also state field installation, and they state their amount. So I just thought this information would kind of help see our point of view and where we're coming from in regards to our protest letter and why we submitted it. So based upon this information, we feel TNT should be awarded the contract as we are the lowest responsible bidder.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Twist? I have a question. I understand, is it true that you planned on using this same supplier for that particular portion of the
Correct.
bid? Did you also intend to have them do the same field installation work?
We intended on self-performing all mechanical work.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So every other bidder did not list these people. We understood at bid time They're not licensed. I checked. I did my due diligence. They're not licensed, nor do they have a DIR number. So I made the decision not to list them, and this is all work we are qualified to perform.
Okay. Mr. Serna?
A follow-up to the chair's question. Is the same scope presented in your bid then from this supplier?
Yeah, this supplier was one of the listed suppliers.
So it's the same verbiage in terms of
Exactly.
installation.
Yep.
Literally the verbs used, not just the mention of the supplies.
It's, specifically states installation, and that's why, like I said, at bid time, I did my due diligence and made sure that we could perform the work, and that's why we did not list them as a subcontractor, although they clearly are performing work that is to be subcontract, or could be considered subcontract work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, Director Howell.
So this is the exact same proposal that both you and the other contractor got?
This
Sorry,
was
my
sent
voice
to
is a
all contractors bidding the project, correct?
Okay, so, but you got the exact same proposal?
Yeah.
So did you eliminate what part of this proposal did you eliminate from yours?
The installation portion, which requires a subcontractor's or a contractor's license and a
That's
DIR
at
number.
the pricing at the top of page 5?
Correct.
So you eliminated that, your crew was gonna do that, but they were still gonna do the 65,000 in technical assistance?
No, sorry, excuse me, that we would remove the second number, which was the installation. They would provide all the parts and equipment for the project.
So
But
the only thing
we
you
would
will-
perform the field installation because they are not licensed to do so.
Okay, so the only thing that you eliminated was the 65,000?
Yes.
All right, and this is just from where I'm coming from. I'm an engineer too. The way this is listed here, it says budget pricing information, technical assistance. I don't really see that as being field installation. It looked to me, if you look at the breakdown on the previous page, that it was technical assistance to make sure stuff had been properly installed. And that's understandable, it's their equipment. They don't want somebody coming, they don't want the district going back after them for faulty equipment if it wasn't properly installed. So I would expect them, as the supplier, to be doing this $65,000 task, and I don't look at that as being the installation. So I'm kind of in a quandary here.
Okay.
I do
And
that same thing
can
on a
I
lot of
just-
design projects. I will go out in the field and make sure that what I designed was installed the way I designed it.
Correct, but you're not going to install it unless you're a licensed contractor, correct?
No, I don't install it, but I go out and provide
Yeah,
the
and
technical
that's fine.
assistance
I agree with that.
standing next to the contractor.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I was just going to interject. This is a question that you're probably going to want to ask the low bidder, because I believe that they've approached it the same way, that they are going to be installing the equipment, or their subcontractor that's listed is going to be installing it. So to me, they seem to have been approaching the bids the same way, but that's a question that you'll want to ask the.
I intended to. Director Nottoli.
Yeah, well, just to that point, Lisa, and certainly to the points being made here, but if I read the sub B underneath the description here, it says in the first sentence, the field installation estimate, in quotes, price includes travel, living, and field labor to install the equipment and check out its operation. Now, I don't think it can be much clearer than that. So if that's what it says, even to Carrie's point, how she may perform it, it says field labor to install the equipment. Now, I guess, Lisa, I would turn to you.
Again, I think it's a question that you need to ask the low
I will.
bidder, but the way that I understand it is that that part was not included in either contractor's bid, because that part was not able to be included because they don't have a license, so they can't be the installer. That's my understanding, and again, you need to.
Okay, so let me just, that's fine. And we're going to hear from the other parties. But then if I go back to page 4, where it talks about John Zink field installation scope of work, I assume that coordinates with the page 5, is that is the scope of work, mobilize inventory equipment, ensure all systems, remove existing swing-out panels, and install new swing-out panels with recorder and OIP, remove this and that, install this and that. It doesn't say that we're going to stand by and watch them do it, or we're going to supervise the bidder's work or somebody else's crew, or be there for technical assistance. It says that they are going to install. So again, I'm not trying to parse words here, and again, I'm not.
No, I mean, that's the important part of parsing the words. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So you can ask the TNT folks how they interpreted that point, because what I think I heard was that they said they were not going to be, Zinc was not going to be doing that work. It was going to be either self-performed, I think they said self-performed, and you'll hear from TNT that that portion of work, I believe, will be either self-performed or performed by their electrical subcontractor, which was listed. So
Okay.
that's the difference.
And that was specified in their bid?
I don't think they need to specify that in their bid, because that's not required, but that is what their numbers show that will be happening.
So that's, let me ask you one other question. So how do we know then? We know by the numbers? How do we know what they're going to self-perform versus what they would rely on the supplier and what they have offered here in this same printout? Apparently
Right,
both
so
of them
there's
used.
kind of three ways you would know. One, by the numbers. Two, by when it happens in the field. They're not allowed to use Zinc because he doesn't have a contractor's license. So they can't use them. And if they do, and they substitute him as a subcontractor, then there's penalties allowed to be enforced under the law, under the subcontractor listing law. So there's three ways to guarantee that an erroneous subcontractor won't be used.
So there's a assumption that what you just described, that's, again, obviously, if they were to use them, then they're subject to penalties. But
Right.
and that assumption applies to all bidders, and irrespective, I guess say irrespective, but from what we have before us, then that assumption applies to the pool of folks here, that if they listed someone as a supplier, even though the backup detail might show something that calls out for installation, they say they're going to self-perform. Obviously, the folks that are protesting are saying that. The others have said that as well.
Right.
That we assume that that's correct and they wouldn't use, even though we have some printed information that details what Zinc would do, but they're not licensed to do so, and so they couldn't do it for this party nor for any other party.
Correct.
Could I address that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm Donald Harbada. I'm attorney for TNT Industrial. I think that hits upon Member Nottoli, the point that you have to look at the bids as they were opened, and the suggestion that this was inadvertent but correct. That's the standard that was referred to earlier. It is intentional and erroneous. There's the bid form that's required by the subcontractor's listing law that lists all of the bid subcontractors that the prime bidder is going to use over 1/2 of 1%. He listed them on purpose. And effectively, if this were allowed, they'd have two bites of the apple now, because we do have the proposal from Zinc. There are dozens of pieces of equipment on that project. Nobody listed any of those. They listed them because they thought they were a subcontractor, but they're not. They don't have a license.
Okay, thanks.
Can I say one more thing? That's the confusion, is they were listed as a subcontractor, so it's confusing. Did they not plan on using them? And that's kind of why we have our point of view and where we stand.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just one. Is this supplier sole sourced on the contract?
This is a supplier that's required to be used because they've supplied our original equipment.
Okay.
John Zink makes these equipment.
So every responsive bidder included
Has to.
this proposal
That's
in their
correct.
bid response?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, next up, representing ICS, Brian Ginger?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Brian Junginer. I'm an attorney with the firm of McInerney and Dillon. I'm here on behalf of ICS. We also have Eric Rager from ICS to answer any questions if some come up. As you might presume, we're in favor of the staff's recommendation to deny the bid protest and award the contract to ICS. I would like to address a few issues that have come up here in discussion. One being is the bid proposal that you've all received copies is the same bid proposal that every contractor received, including ICS. And just the same as TNT, ICS intends to self-perform the mechanical work and have its electrician perform the installation, which is the exact same thing TNT proposed to do. And just because a bid proposal includes installation, it doesn't mean that ICS has to use them, and they're in fact not going to use them. and what I think it is also important to remember is that John Zink is the sole source. Everybody's going to be using them together, or has to use them. And if you look closely at the specifications, there is actually a lot of oversight that John Zink has to do for this project, including making sure the commissioning of the project, making sure that everything is fine-tuned. And so the money that's there is not only just for the supply, but also for the oversight of the work, which is required by the specification. So if there's, we're open to questions. If there's no questions, then we'd respectfully request that the board award the contract to ICS.
Very good. Thank you. Director Serna.
Thank you. Not a question for the speaker, but a question for Prabhakar. Based on what your response was just a minute ago in terms of acknowledging to the board that the expectation from the district is that all bidders are going to use the same supplier. Along with that expectation, is there an equal expectation that every bidder is going to use the supplier in the same way? In other words, just to supply and not to do anything that would require a contractor's license?
I can't answer that question specifically. Let me ask Mike Crooks to come up. But based on what I have seen, I don't think the specifications are that specific, that the contractor, the supplier perform exactly.
Let me ask it a different way. Is there generally an expectation by the district that we would never have a supplier perform work versus supply material if they don't have the legal ability to do that per license?
Yeah,
license?
we can't. So
Okay.
not only we cannot, it gets checked because, you know, as part of these contracts, they have to provide certified payrolls and whatnot. We know who worked with who.
Okay, so I think that answers my question.
Yeah, labor compliance is an issue.
So it sounds to me like the expectation is fair and equally applied to all bidders.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Harris.
Two questions. One for Prabhakar. The oversight that's indicated for John Zink, commissioning, watching, making sure that their equipment is installed properly, would that require a contractor's license?
I would not think so, but I'm going to defer to our attorney. I would not think that would be the case.
No, I don't believe that would.
Okay, fair enough. And then I would like to ask you, sir, why did ICS put John Zink in the subcontractor category? Was it mistake, oversight, intentional? Can you address that concern?
Right. I think it was a mistake, but I think there was the little bit of confusion because of the oversight work that John Zink would be doing. They will be on site. They will be doing a significant amount of oversight. And so as a precautionary measure, they were added, but technically they don't fall within the definition of a subcontractor.
But ICS did list a subcontractor to do the installation, the electrical work, and John Zink would do the oversight, and that does not require a contractor's license.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Harris. That was my question as well. Director Howell.
I'd actually like to have that question answered by the contractor, because I'm guessing you weren't in the room when the bid was prepared.
I was not.
And the only other comment that I'm going to make is that in practicality, if you're in the field and Don's doing the work, I'm the technical advisor from John Zink, you're standing at a junction box and somebody's got to replace a panel. Chances are my hands are going to go on that panel to help the person that's installing it. And I'm guessing that's exactly what would happen in reality at the site. Would you disagree with that?
I would disagree a little bit with that.
It doesn't mean that I'm going to install it, but I'm going to hold the screwdriver, crimp a wire, whatever it takes to install that panel.
I disagree with that. I mean,
You wouldn't let me touch it?
No, I mean, you could touch it to inspect it, to make sure we have the right quality of work that you demand for installation of your product, but you wouldn't be installing it or crimping wires or making any adjustments.
Can you answer the question that was asked earlier about the intent, how that mistake happened?
Were you involved in the bid preparation?
Marginally involved in the bid preparation, but the mistake was made, honestly, because they were doing not installation work, but they are doing inspection work. And so there was just some confusion of whether or not to list them. Also because we're required to use them as a material supplier, so there was just some general confusion.
Director Nottoli.
Yeah, so while you're here, and maybe for you and for staff, so if we do it in reverse, there was, I hear the explanation that it was done out of a, intent to make sure that there was disclosure. So in the event that work was being performed, they hadn't declared it, would that then have affected their ability to receive the bid? So, I mean, it was one of those things where you've got to make some quick calls, obviously, and some of this is known, and, and when you're putting a bid together. So I guess in the reverse, Lisa, maybe you could, and again, who would explain that? I'm just
Right.
kind of trying to understand.
If they hadn't been listed and they were a subcontractor, then there would be grounds for protest. So I can see why a contractor would list them, because they are a required supplier, and in an abundance of caution, and at this short time frame, like you referenced, Director Nottoli, sometimes contractors will list entities that aren't necessarily required to be listed. And I think that's why the court in the Bay Cities case that I referenced earlier found that if they're not required to be listed, that there can't be an error
Okay, because I know you mentioned
under that theory.
in a write-up about, putting forth more information than not, again, in not to mislead, but to, I think, certainly to, with the intent to outline who was going to be on the site. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for the gentleman from ICS, representing ICS? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
At this point, we'll go ahead and close public comment on item number 6 and move to board deliberation and/or a motion.
I'll move staff recommendation to accept ICS bid.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Director Harris, a second from Director Serna. Any further discussion and deliberation? Do we need a roll call vote? I don't think so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, on to the next item is public comment for items not on the agenda. I do not have any speaker cards for anyone. Is there anyone wishing to speak on an item that is not regularly agendized? That's for a closed session. All right, so we will move on. Sacramento County Sanitation District separate matters, item number 8, please.
Item number 8, revised sewer rate increase and associated amendments to the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Consolidated Ordinance.
Just in the interest of time, if Christoph is prepared to make remarks on why we do not need rate increases anymore, it's a good news. But if you're interested in saving some time, and if you're comfortable with it, just basically introduce the ordinance today, and we'll come back on May 22nd to approve. Basically what it's saying is we will not need rate increases that you already authorized, and we need your action to freeze it.
So I would say let's save the comments for the May 22nd meeting. It's important that we have the first reading today in order that the rates don't automatically go up in July. So with that, thank you for that consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Serna, seconded by Howell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good news.
You
Yes,
gonna send out a flyer, or 218 flyer, to make sure people approve the change?
The lack of increase?
There will be a billing insert that goes out that lets them know that, yeah.
It is good news, and they should know it.
Can you put hip hip hooray on the top of that flyer?
Yeah. Okay, on to item number 9, please.
And also items number 9 and 10, the staff are prepared to make presentations. Just wanted to tee it off. That is that we have received the $280 million grant from the state, so we have a lot of work that needs to happen. What we're waiting for is the permit from the state to divert, and we've been waiting for about 8 months, and they're promising it's going to come any moment now. But there's work that we need to do.
Check your inbox.
So there are 2 contracts that we're asking for, essentially extension of, so that put money into it. As we do the work, we get the reimbursements from the state once all the contracts with the state are executed. We're kind of fronting the money a little bit to do the work. So that's what the presentations for 9 and 10. But if you do want the presentation, I got Terry to give you if you have questions.
Well, I'm a nerd about this issue because I just am excited for what it means for the South County Ag and South County Aquifer. But I could listen to it over and over again. But in the interest of time, if the board doesn't share my enthusiasm,
Sure,
We got the money, we just need the permit to go forward. So is there a motion for item number 9?
So moved. Enthusiastically.
Moved by Howell enthusiastically. Is there an enthusiastic second?
Yeah, second.
Seconded by Director Nottoli. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10. Did I hear a motion from Director Villegas? Okay.
Second.
Second from Director Howell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just to note, we're starting with some community workshops next month. I know that my calendar's filling up already, but we're going to do some outreach with some of the farmers and ranchers, and I know folks will be invited to attend if they're interested, but is that correct? Yeah.
Great. I'd like to be included on those
Definitely.
emails. Please. Thank you. All right, so we're going to dispense with the PowerPoint presentation there and move on to the district separate matters, miscellaneous director and district engineer matters. And I just would like to tell those departing for the sandboard duty that there are cupcakes in the break room in honor of Director Serna's birthday. So please help yourself to a cupcake. That's the Prabhakar brought them in, and so they're there.
Oh, we were
meant to
hoping
be
Phil
enjoyed.
made
How many candles?
Oh, hopefully there's no candles. That's a real fire hazard, let me tell you.
No, I didn't want to bring the candle part of it.
He was gonna bring a cupcake for each year, but unfortunately, the dolly that would have been required to carry him through the door, he couldn't.
I would like the members to stay for one more minute, so when I'm going to ask a question here, so the regional Senate members only, because there's
Okay.
something that I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So would you mind? So obviously, the more important thing, we don't have the first meeting in May, so the next meeting is May 22nd, because I think the cap-to-cap is happening in the first block. The May 22nd meeting is at the plant, if I think I've been mentioning to you. I've sent emails asking for interest. I only have, so far, 6 members responded, so that's why I wanted to take a kind of a roll call here, see who wants to. I have Director Harris and Orozco. They have seen it before, and Director Harris might as well give the tour because he's very knowledgeable. So he's decided he wasn't going to stay for the tour part. So we'll have a board meeting, a half an hour or less, and then we'll get in a bus and go tour the construction site, and also look at the historical structure at the Miklos Dairy for 15 minutes, and then swing by the solar farm and get back into the conference room where the lunch will be served. Then you get to ask questions, in terms of what you've seen. And so by 12:30, our goal is to wrap it up and everybody going back. So I have 4 members that have said that want to go for tour, Director Bruins, Carr, Kennedy, and Peters. So I'm going from the left. Director Villegas, would you plan to stay for the tour?
I believe we did RSVP. Yes.
For some reason, anyway, I'll send it to Sunny. So Director Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. Director McGarvey.
There's nothing I would rather do than go on a tour.
Yeah, we knew it was.
She
you're just like us.
enthusiastically
You're
would like
a
to
geek among
participate.
And actually, I can give some of that tour myself.
Okay.
Actually, we don't want you touching anything.
And I'm
Can't even
asking
hold
to
a
answer the
screwdriver?
Totally.
Yeah, I thought my office.
Even if I'm
confirmed.
Yeah, for
listed.
some reason we don't have them, but I'll mark them.
Okay, no, I'm going to be there.
Dr. Hume is going to be there.
It's already on my calendar.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely, Dr. Fry.
calendar also.
Good. I think the rest of them, I think we have said. Good, great. I just wanted to get that, so I let staff know. I also gave an invitation
Hold
to
on,
any of
just
your
one second,
alternates.
Director Nottoli.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a suggestion. You talked about the way we did a tour. It might be that you could reorder it so you could actually have, assuming you could set it up, but to actually have the lunch at the Miklos Ranch, because again, 15 minutes, I'm not sure does it justice. People want to kind of wander around, get a feel for that. So I might offer a suggestion that you end up there, assuming the logistics aren't too difficult. I just think that
Logistically, I'm going to see, because there's a lot of landscaping work going on. There's work going around it. So we'll see if it's possible, we'll do that.
Well,
Maybe set up a
you
tent
can
or
issue hard
something.
hats or whatever. Got a hard heads up here. So.
Yeah. But certainly it's a good suggestion. I would say it's a beautiful place to
I was
have
going
lunch.
to say, you might have
but-
an opportunity to do that. Okay.
So that's that, and then we wished Director Serna his birthday today, so that's the other thing that I had. And I also want to introduce a couple of members here. Where's Amy Norman? Amy, so as I said, there's staff are moving around, staffing, succession planning part of it. Amy is leading the SASD. Rosemary is at the plant, learning about the plant and Eco Water project. And also Ruben is on vacation, so I got Len Bielefeld is pinch hitting here. So I just wanted to introduce them to you. You may see them more permanently than after we leave, so that you can see what the paces might be.
Great.
I think that's it in terms of my comments.
We're closed.
We do have a closed session.
Toward the end of the SASD, there's a consent item, then we go into there's ordinance introduction, we'll go to closed
So
session.
that excuses the sand board members. Don't forget to grab a cupcake. And now we will move to the Sacramento Area Sewer
Please do,
District.
there are plenty of them.
Items
51?
12 through
There
15.
are 30 of them, not quite 50.
51.
Not 51?
Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
So, second.
I do want to have a slightly changed recommendation for 13, so let's do everything but 13.
Okay.
Okay, move the balance.
Okay, so 12, 14, and 15 moved by Director Serna, seconded by Director Nottoli. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 13.
So the recommendation is for you to authorize us to enter into agreement with the contractor to do the work. But what we are having difficulty with is we haven't received an important permit from the federal government yet. So because of the giant garter snake issue. There's an indication that we would get it within the next 2 weeks. Which means we can't do work past September, because there's a time limit what we can do because of the garter snake, their seasons. If this drags on, our preference is to actually rebid it next year. So what I would like a modified recommendation is authorize the execution of the agreement, but give me the authority to throw away all the bids and rebid in case we didn't get the permit in time. That's a modified recommendation.
Make that motion.
Well, what about the option for preserving the bids and just adjusting the time when it would be constructed?
So we considered that, but again, that means you have to go back to the contractor and say, well, we just felt this was a cleaner thing to redo it next year.
Well,
And also, just to interject, I don't know if a contractor would even be able to do that, because they'd have to keep all their bid bonds and everything in place, and I don't think that would be really a practical option, or maybe not even a legal option because of the requirements that are in the specifications.
I just hate to waste the whole rebidding process.
I mean, I agree that.
Yeah, but again, I think one of the things we are worried is the shorter time was where we are exposed to the kind of claims and things. So we just don't want that to be happening.
Does that compromise the process, though, that in the second rebid, everybody would be privy to what the other bidders had?
Yeah, that
I
too.
mean, that's always the worry, for sure, but hopefully we'll get the permit and we won't have to do that. But let's see, they only had 2 bidders, so I don't think that there's a lot of interest necessarily in the project. And waiting a whole year would be pretty unfair, I think, to the people that bid, actually.
Well, and hopefully, if that happens, they'll both sharpen their pencils.
We can find some other work for them in the Delta. There's a couple other communities that need sewer.
All right, is there a motion to provide that authorization?
Reluctantly, yes.
Okay, not enthusiastically, but reluctantly. Moved by Howell. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Director Nottoli. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to district separate matters. I would assume this is the same situation as before, that we can send out the flyer that says hooray and wait for the 22nd to hear the...
This is a kind of introduction of ordinance. Christoph, if you want to just quickly mention what it is.
Okay.
Sure, just...
Oh, I see that. This is an actual increase. Okay.
It's not a hooray, it is an increase. Basically, every 3 years, we've been doing 3-year increments on the impact fees. So this is SASD sewer impact fees. We basically set the fee through using our model, our financial model, and then set a inflation rate for the next 3 years. And so this would be the introduction of the ordinance, just like the regional sand rate ordinance. This would be the impact fees, and we would come back on May 22nd to adopt the ordinance changes.
Okay. Thank you for that brevity. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Nottoli, seconded by Director Howell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Before we move into closed session, I do have a couple of speakers signed up to speak. I would ask that you keep your comments as close to 3 minutes as possible. First up is Kathy Lee, followed by Lynn Wheat, and hitting cleanup will be Mr. Steve Lee.
Can we make this a little lower? Hello, and thank you for giving me time to hear me today. My name is Kathy Lee, and I'm here regarding the closed agenda item concerning the Ventura Park property at Bond and Waterman Road in Elk Grove. I'm here today representing over 1,000 homeowners near the site of the land in question. Since this board has changed substantially over the years, I wanted to give you a very quick overview of this land and the contract you're going to be discussing today. Our goal here is to share with you our many concerns over the current agreement between the board and the current buyer, Silverado Homes, and ultimately ask that you consider termination of the contract with Silverado. This began in 2004 when CSD1, now known as a sand board, executed a contract for the sale of the land for approximately $50.2 million for Centex Homes, with a 2-year time frame for closing of the escrow. In 2006, the buyer failed to perform pursuant to the terms of the contract in that they failed to meet the 2-year time frame for the purchase, and they ceased their quarterly payments of $150,000 into an escrow account. By mid-2006, the sand board was made aware of these material breaches of the contract and should have pursued either legal or specific performance remedies for the breach. However, the buyer was not held accountable, and instead the board granted the first of many extensions in mid-2006. The escrow account was found to be short by almost $400,000, but again, the buyer was not held accountable, and the board in mid-2006, in the 2006 modification, released the buyer from any further escrow payments. From 2006 to current, the board has granted at least 8 extensions and multiple modifications to the original sales agreement. As most of these documents are listed under closed agenda items, we have not been able to ascertain the exact documents, but with a lot of hard work and help from Google, we've been able to piece together some interesting bits and pieces. These modifications seem to heavily favor the buyer in all aspects and substantially damages the sand board and its ratepayers. I'd like to share with you just a few of the lopsided aspects of the current agreement. The buyer carries no burden, and the sand board assumes all risks and all burdens associated with all the modified agreements. The buyer was allowed to cease all good faith payments into the escrow account. The existing escrow account of $800 was credited back towards the final purchase price of the land. As stated in the original agreement, this escrow was non-refundable deposit made by the buyer for consideration for the option purchase property. Since the land has not yet been sold, the escrow accounts by all accounts should have been forfeited to the sand board, but instead the buyer now enjoys a credit of $800,000 on the final purchase of the land. If this $800,000 credit is allowed to stand, that credit would constitute a gift of public funds to a buyer, and such would be a direct violation of the California Constitution. The buyer has asked for and was granted the ability to reduce the final purchase price of the land to 80% of fair market value. This could be considered another gift of public lands. The buyer has finally obtained their necessary permits in 2018. However, that being said, the buyer has now asked for extensions of those permits to the year 2023. Does this sound familiar? 2023. How many more times would the sand board be asked to extend or modify in this new current extended period? We ask that you terminate the contract or at least look for alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wheat?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name's Lynn Wheat. I'm a resident of Elk Grove. I want to give you a little history. When this project came forth, a number of residents and homeowner groups united and brought different proposals forward and different ideas that we thought would benefit the residents of Elk Grove as well as the region. I want to bring forth those concepts that we presented and discuss them a little bit, recognizing that we do need to have money as ratepayers that would benefit that. We were looking at that if a number of our government agencies could unite together, that there could be some grants out there that could make this very good opportunity. One of the ideas that we came up with was working with UC Davis and looking at this as being a local farm or ag sustainability institute that would favor students in our area and help preserve some of the ag that we would like to preserve in our South County, and possibly train, train students to become our future farmers. Another was to think about putting it into a conservancy or a land trust, as there's a number of wetlands and species out there that have been determined to be threatened or endangered. Another was to just leave it as an open space recreational area, recognizing that when we look at the health of our population over the years, it has declined, especially within our youth population, where we've seen the increase in diabetes and asthma and obesity. So these were a number of the concepts that we did present at that time. So since we presented that concepts, of course, a lot has changed. A couple things in particular that come to my mind is the way we look at water in our region. And we know that our South Basin has been threatened, and we need to look at how we can make that sustainable in future, for future generations. One of the possibilities has been looking at water banking, reclaiming that water for the ground. Elk Grove Water District did the water assessment for this particular project, and that assessment came out in 2013. So we're looking 6 years ago. And I just want to say that that the comments that were made was the existing and future use of groundwater supplies has been extensively described in the EGW 2010 UWMP, which includes the groundwater management plan for the Central Sacramento County groundwater basin. And we know now that they're looking at how we can become the SGAs under the laws that have passed in regarding to our water use. So I think that we could look at possibly some grants for this area and look at retaining some of that water within this area that would still profit, your board would profit the taxpayers. The other thing that I want to bring forth is, yes, they have received their 401 permit. They reapplied for that. But interestingly enough, in updating that permit, they eliminated what their plan was, which was for the 670 residential lots on 114 acres. So they're being silent on the number of homes. So is this, once this land is closed and it's sold to them, are they going to be presenting something else that might even threaten the water in our area? Thank you for your time. I apologize for going over.
Thank you, Lynn. Mr. Lee.
I'd like to thank the board for hearing us today. I appreciate you taking the time. Mr. Serna, happy birthday.
Thank you.
First of all, we're at a bit of a disadvantage. We've been following this since 2004, as close as we possibly can. But in reality, we're in a disadvantage because we don't know the specifics of the closed session and what you're discussing. If we did know, we probably could give you some insight that you probably don't have. So like I said, that's a bit of a disadvantage for us. As has been said, the project began at a $50 million toward the sandboard. That was a benefit to the sandboard, $50 million. And look to see where you're at now in your negotiations for the sale of the property. Are you anywhere close to that? You were entitled to specific performance. You didn't ask for it. It's too late to get it now, but that's awful. That's just awful. Now you're involved in an illegal and unconscionable contract with Silverado. Specifically, I'm talking about the $800,000 in escrow that was non-refundable, but that has been credited back to the buyer under the terms of the sales contract, and selling the property at 80% of fair market value. Again, both violation of the California Constitution. That's Article 16, Section 6, and it's all documented in a letter submitted to this board back on June 12th, 2007, and at least twice since then. It's from Don Mooney. It's in the file. Please read it. Thank you very much. The sandboard needs to seek a judge's review of this contract because it is illegal and unconscionable. It's all totally one-sided. You need a new contract that's more equitable, and you can sell this property and get it off your ledger like I know that you want to get it off your ledger. This is a little bit harsh, but it's true. Ratification of the sales contract as it stands makes each member worthy of some degree of complicity in violation of the California Constitution. It bears your succinct review and looking at this and saying, is this really what we want to do? Is this what we want to do as a board and violate the Constitution? I think probably not. The project has become a PR nightmare for you folks, potentially, as opposed to what it could be with some of the items that Lynn Wheat brought forward, some of the long-term options that are available to this land, what we could do with this. So please review it. Take it before a judge. Have a judge review it, and have him see if he can set it aside and get something that's more equitable to this board, to this community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you guys coming out. And in speaking before to the council before the meeting began, what we'll be discussing in closed session apparently is the rock or the hard place. And so this is the gift that keeps on giving. With that, do we anticipate that there will be a report out?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, so nothing to come back and tell you all if you want to go on, get on with your day. All right, well, we're going to adjourn to closed session.
Thanks. Cupcakes?